how to speed up bulk contracts, how to speed up the bulk contract process. My name is Ben Lamb and I'll be emceeing today. So thank you everyone for coming along. So just first off, some housekeeping items. So your audio is muted at the moment, so that means you can hear us, but we can't hear you. At the end, feel free to ask any questions by typing queries in the question panel, kind of like what we were doing for our trivia just before, and we'll answer as many as we can as we go through. Also, don't worry about taking notes. At the end of the webinar, we'll actually be able to email out a link to our blog, which will have a recording of this webinar for you ready to go. So as I mentioned, my name is Ben Lamb. I'm emceeing this webinar today. I've had over 10 years in the HR space, and I'm the primary support and account manager for all of the Navigo products. Presenting today is Tim Cincotta, who is an account manager for Navigo. He's been working in recruitment technology for over 5 years and speaks to over 100 organisations a month around onboarding. So he's a bit of an expert in the field.
Thanks, Ben.
Fantastic. So I'll pass you over to Tim now. So, Tim.
Kind introduction. So I guess before we get started today, and I take you through how we can better build bulk offers at once, let's, I guess, define what is bulk contract processing and where we might see it. And what I wanted to go through is a few examples that I've seen and that I deal with on a regular basis. The first one, or the first example, I guess, of where we'd see hundreds of contracts or dozens of contracts and employment offers being built at once is around seasonal hires. And this is quite prevalent at the moment with Christmas casuals in the retail sector, but we also see it early in the ski season up on the resorts, but also at the tourist parks as we come into school holidays. So a lot of, I guess, bulk contracts being built at once to get a whole lot of new employees on at the same time. Contract extensions, and this is one that I see and is close to my heart because my wife is a university lecturer, so I see this a lot. And this is where we've got an existing workforce that needs new contracts for the following year, as I said, most prevalent in TAFEs and universities. And this is a solution that we're currently rolling out for one tertiary education organisation where they're about to release 450 new contracts to staff. And typically at the moment, they're looking 3 people away for 3 weeks at a time to build these contracts all at one hit. New stores opening or new sites opening, quite again, another one that's quite prevalent in the retail sector, where we'll find we've got 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 people, depending on the size of the store, that we all need to get on board at one time and get started. New projects one is probably most common, you'd say, in construction and energy and mining fields, where we've won a contract, fantastic. Now we need to put on 100 people at once. And how are we going to build all of these employment offers in one go? Yearly intake is something that I come across when talking to a lot of health organisations and also with education and graduate recruitment. And again, in hospitals where we find that we need to put on a batch of graduates in one hit, it can be quite a time-consuming process. So this is something that we'll cover again. And the last one which comes to mind and that I come across most frequently is just a high volume recruiter, okay? And this is probably most common in hospitality, related industries such as hotels, restaurants, groups like that, where it's not so much that they do, bulk recruitment at certain times of the year, it is that they just do a lot of recruitment all day long. And I just came off the phone with somebody who does 20 to 30 new hires a week. So that gives you a good idea of how much they're dealing with and how much easier it would be if they could do it all in one hit rather than having to build 20 contracts at once. So what I want to do now is I want to run a poll, and I guess I'm keen to get an idea of where everybody in the room is at today as to why they would be building bulk contracts. So you should see a little poll that's come up on your screen now. So I'll give you a moment there to select which is most relevant to you. Are you taking on Christmas casuals or seasonal hires? Let's just have a look. I can see here extension of contracts for existing staff is leading the way. So we'll just give it another 30 seconds while we get some critical mass. We've only got 44% at the moment, so let's try and get that up to about 75, 80% before we release that. Good. Starting to even out a bit. we'll wrap that up and let's put these results up. So what we can see there is, extension of contracts for existing staff, which would probably give me the impression we've got a few universities and TAFEs in the webinar today, and Christmas casuals, and the yearly intake of new hires. So I'd say we've got a few health organisations as well. Now, with building of contracts and offers, it doesn't have, and I just want to clarify as well, it doesn't have to be for new hires, it can be for existing staff, and I guess that poll shows that that is where it's probably most prevalent at the moment. Let's talk about issues that can come about from bulk contract processing and building multiple offers at once. Let's face it, it is a time-consuming and menial task, and no HR person or recruitment person says, yay, it's contract season, let's go build 300 contracts and lock ourselves in a room for three weeks. It is a long, arduous task, and it is time that can be better spent elsewhere. All right? So think now of how much time your team spends on bulk building contracts. I talked before about the organisation who we've recently taken on, who have a team of 3 locked away for 3 weeks, and I've heard some horror stories from others as well. Compliance risk through human error. And no matter how hard you try and how many systems we put in place, if you're carrying out tasks in a manual process, it is open to human error. And of course, with employment contracts, that can lead you to a multitude of compliance issues. And time and dollars wasted on printing and mailing. You'll see a little photo there, which is from an organisation who we met with recently. I won't name them, but this is a room that they have dedicated to onboarding of new staff. And this is, I guess, these are all the forms that go out in a pack. So they put a pack together and they come along and they grab a piece of paper off each of these stacks and put it all together in an envelope, okay? And this is on top of building the employment contract. So you can imagine when they're doing their bulk contract season, how much time that this would take. One last one that's important to point out is candidate uncertainty, okay? And this is, I guess, one thing that we probably take for granted. And again, I'll refer back to how this affects myself personally. My wife is a university academic, she's a lecturer, and every year we wait around for a new contract. And one year we had to wait until January the 6th before we got her contract for that year. And in the meantime, until you've got a contract as an employee, you don't take anything for granted. In the meantime, she applied for 3 jobs. And she's a pretty valued member of the team there. So, you know, you can imagine if they did come back to her and she got a better offer in the meantime, we've lost a quality employee because we've taken so much time to get them an offer. Even though we've said, don't worry, you've got the offer, there is still nothing certain until we've got a contract, okay? This year, her organisation, or the tertiary institute that she works for, actually took on a paperless onboarding tool to build contracts quickly. And I'm glad to say that she actually got her contract 3 days ago while I was putting this together, and it was a massive relief, and saved us having to go out and look for jobs, which is good. So that candidate uncertainty. And also, this is quite relevant for Christmas casuals and seasonal hires. Christmas casuals, if you're a university student, you apply for half a dozen jobs to do over summer, good chance you'll probably get a couple offered to you. Now, you may not be the only offer that particular candidate gets, but you can make sure that you are the first offer so that you are getting your first choice candidates. All right? By sitting there and taking an extended period of time to put out these offers, we are risking losing first choice candidates. So, now that I've put out a whole lot of doom and gloom, why don't we have a look at what onboarding solutions are available. And of course, at Navigo, I'm going to deal with our product here, HR on Board, and show you how this can be used. All right. So if anybody's ever seen a demonstration of our product HR on Board, they'll be quite familiar with Marin Company and with Rick, our recruitment officer. Now I'm just going to scroll in on this just so everybody can see clearly. And I'm going to log in as a recruitment officer who needs to put together a bulk lot of contracts. When we log into the system, we can actually see here that we have no offers that are currently ready to be sent out. Now, what we need to do is we need to add 15 people for a Christmas casual burst that we've just done. So what you'll notice up at the top here is that I have this import candidate function. And this is one of the functions available through HR on Board. When I click on import candidate, you'll see here that I have a full list of things to go through with regards to a bulk offer import. Okay. Now, one thing you'll also notice here is that we have the download CSV template, okay? And what we can actually do is we can download this template, and I just want to give you a quick look at that actually. So please excuse me while I do this. And I'll bring this up to show you the best candidates. So we can see here that this template has actually popped up. And on this template, we can see here the fields that need to be filled out in order to put together an offer. So we can see now there are the fields that need to be filled out, okay? So we now have a template where we can put this information through. Now, with a lot of systems, you can actually pull this detail straight out in a CSV format from a payroll system of existing employees or from a recruitment system for new employees, okay? And what that will look like once it is complete is it'll actually look a lot like this. This is one that I've prepared earlier, okay? And these are a whole lot of offers that we need to put together for our Christmas casuals for this coming year. So let's move back here now and let's put the offer together. What I can do now is I can actually choose a file, and as I said, I have prepared one earlier with bulk contracts. Now what this is doing at the moment is I've just imported a CSV document, and it's coming through and it is now pulling all of the information out of the CSV to preload into our contract builder, into a dynamic contract builder through HR on board at this stage. So 15 contracts may take, well, I don't know how long it takes people, but if we're working conservatively, it might take half a day, a few hours. But what we've done here is we've managed to put this together in a matter of 30 seconds or a minute. There we go. 15 successful imported. Now what if I go out to the dashboard, what I'll actually see is that I'll see that we have 15 offers ready to send, okay? Now with the process that we have set up here, when we go into View Jane, we'll actually see here that all of this information has now been populated into HR on board, including the details of the position, the employment details, the contract items, and so forth. And if I want to view what the contract looks like, I can simply click here and download, and I can view the PDF. So you can see there, and just for your own information, all information that you see here that is in blue is actually dynamic data relevant to that particular contract, and variations that we've made on our standard template. So we can see here that the employment offer has come together quite nicely. In this case, we can actually send this offer for review to the line manager if we like. However, you do have the option to just send it straight to the candidate if you like, in the interest of saving time. Okay. And that's how easy it is to build 15 contracts in 30 seconds and get them ready to go. So I guess a couple of key takeaways to go through today before we do start taking questions is why it is so important to look into new and improved ways of building contracts, building bulk, lots of contract offers at once. The first one there is that streamlining offer processing to reduce risk and prevent human errors and save effort. Okay, and I guess that's probably one really important factor that we need to take into mind there. Again, we draw about human error, and as much time and effort as we put into putting processes into place, if it is a manual process that relies on human interaction and humans to do it, there will be errors. Getting offers to candidates quickly reduces the risk of losing to competitors. Okay, quite prevalent in the university sector. Again, I use the example of my wife there, who was ready and starting to apply for other jobs. Having said that, this year we haven't had that issue because the contract has come out so quickly. Okay, and we have that peace of mind early on. And the last one there is that there are onboarding solutions designed to solve bulk recruitment and rehire issues. Okay, so that if you are looking at an onboarding solution and you do have this and you do bulk hires, ensure that this sort of work can be done for you because it is a massive time saver. A couple of things before we start questions that I'd like to go over, and I guess this is quite useful for you. Anybody who is doing bulk lots of recruitment and needs to put together a business case for using an onboarding tool, we do have a green calculator on our website, which is a return on investment calculator. And you can actually calculate the hours that you spend now putting together your contracts, along with how much it's costing you, and importantly, how much time and money you'll save. And of course, we encourage you to jump onto our website and read more about the product. And you can go to hronboard.com.au for more detail. And you'll see there's my contact details across the bottom if you have any further questions as well. Okay, so what I'd like to do now at this stage is throw the floor open for questions and see if there's anything that any questions out there.
All right, we'll just wait for some questions to come through. We've got one already. Can the bulk contracts that someone's uploaded still go through an approval process?
Yeah, so what you will have noticed there is that each individual, and the one that I showed you there in particular, before we could actually send that out to anybody, I actually had it set up so that it would have to be approved by a line manager. It's up to you as to whether or not you want to send it straight away or have each one individually approved before they go out.
We've got another one here just from Simon just saying, you've shown us the contract side. Are you able to show the wider onboarding docs and how they fit into the process/system? That's probably a little bit bigger than what we can go through in this webinar. But
yeah, it is bigger than what we wanted to go through today. As much as I'd like to have gone into it, I guess the point of the webinar today was to show how we could build multiple offers and contracts at once. But Simon, I'm more than happy to, I guess, take you through that in more detail yourself at a later stage, and anybody who'd like to see more, quite happy to.
Cool. We've got another one here. Can the contract be customized to existing templates, or do we need to build a completely new document?
No, what we essentially, with HR on board, it actually has a dynamic contract builder in the setup. And what we essentially do is we take our customers' contract templates and we load them into our system. And what you may have noticed there is that I actually selected the wrong template when I was loading up the bulk group of contracts, which is what held things up there, so that was my fault. But what you'd actually do is you'd be able to select what sort of template you need to load the data into, and it would populate whichever template you need, and that would be configured to your requirements.
We'll go have another one. Can we also confirm that if a contract is created in proposed mode, that we're able to easily update the element that go into the contract and move it to the final state ready to send? So I think what he's trying to say there is if we upload information from the template, can we modify that before it goes through?
Yeah, so you'll notice there, before I sent anything out to the candidate, I went in and I reviewed the contract. And what you may not have, I guess what I didn't point out there is that if I did need to make any alterations to variations that were pulled through from the CSV, I could do that before I hit send, yes.
Cool. All right, well, we've got time for one more, so we'll just do this one, and then we'll have to wrap up. If you do have more questions after this one, please send them through anyway, and we'll be able to answer after the webinar, and we can give you a call and let you know. We have one here saying, is the original data that is loaded up, is it pulled from a HRS such as CRIS21, or is a list created manually?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, with HR on board, the description and what I showed you today, we pulled it from a CSV document. Now that CSV document you can export from a HRIS. Having said that, we can do it automatically as well. We do have API capability within our product where we can actually send data automatically. So there are a couple of options available, and we do work well with systems such as CRIS21, so that is quite possible, yes.
All right, fantastic. Look, it looks like we're out of time, unfortunately. We had a lot of questions come through, so any ones that we didn't answer, we will get back to you with answers as soon as we can. So please still feel free to write them in. But I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope you feel like you've learned something new that might actually help you be a bit more efficient with your onboarding process. If you have missed anything during the webinar, please feel free to give us a call. Tim will be able to help you out if you do have questions. And we'll also be sending a link to the webinar recording. So we'll send you a link to our blog where we'll have the recording once we upload it. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.
Thank you.